Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Do Bonsai. I'm Scott Winard. As you can see, we're in a winter wonderland here. It snowed overnight. It's cold, but with the snow it's actually warmer. It's a strange thing, but snow is a bit of an insulator and it stops the cold. Well, I seem to think it does anyway. Recently, Ryan from Houghton Bonsai, my brother from another mother, has issued a Juniper challenge to basically everybody, and I've accepted, as many others have, and I was lucky enough to get one of the Junipers that Ryan got from the garden centre that he went to. I made him take some money for it because Ryan being Ryan was, just take it, but it was under £20 and I had to at least pay for it to at least come into the challenge. So begrudgingly he took it. He doesn't like to take money off me. We're pretty much the same, to be fair. But yeah, let's get on with this challenge and see what we come up with. Just a quick public service announcement, I suppose, before we venture into the green room and start the work on the Juniper. The work that's going to be done for this challenge, just be mindful. This isn't like do it now in the middle of winter. This isn't an advisory thing of the right time to do stuff and the right time to play, the amount of stuff, the right to, some of the work that I'm going to do here. You just need to be a little bit mindful if you're going to go and work on your trees. There'll be a little bit more work carried out than what you probably want to do at this time of year, and yeah, just be mindful. I don't want to be responsible for people creating a bit of carnage with their trees. So we're a bit full in here in the grow room, the green wing, whatever we want to call this area, and as you can see, the vents are open from the house because Sunday dinner is going to be made today. So I thought I'd cheat and get a bit of warm air flowing through those vents to warm up in here. And if it does get too cold, I do have a little ceramic heater, this ProBreeze heater, just to try and keep me warm. But it doesn't feel too bad. It's currently 12 degrees in here. The warmest that temperature probe says it's been is 47 back in the summer, and the lowest it's been during winter is 3.4. So it's managed to stay above freezing, which is a good job, because the big jades in here, some smaller jades are in here. There's lots of jades and things and some ficus trees dotted around, so they wouldn't enjoy freezing temperatures. But we do have some other trees, some acers up the back and things like that, that probably need to venture off outside to enjoy a winter dormancy. You can see this acer here still looks like it's growing. It isn't, but it's just retained its leaves, and I think because it's warmer up the back here, it hasn't gone into full dormancy. One at the side of it, all the leaves have crumpled up, it's gone into dormancy. It's got lots of buds swelling on it, so I can't wait to see what that looks like next spring and summer. So here's the Juniper on the new turntable that I didn't damage it, but I did damage it. All the edges are scratched now. It was sat in the back of the car and we opened up to get some stuff out while I was up at the Akamatsu weekend just recently, and it dived out the car and then span like a coin would, and all the edges just got wrecked and ruined. But the good thing is it'll stop me being overly precious about it and I can just use it. But it's a fantastic turntable. I was really happy when Josh from Greenwoods gave me a call to say we've got them in, so I'm happy with that regardless. This is our Juniper, one of the ones Ryan got from the garden centre that he's been going to. I think what we'll do first is we will do the normal thing. We'll get it out of its pot, see if we can find a soil level, and then work up through the tree with some branch selection, etc., to see how we're going to go on. But it's very busy. There's some good thick branches in here that I can see, so it looks like we're going to have opportunities. I did feel the trunk, and it did have a bit of a kink over quite low down. Now that kind of depends. The low down depends on how deep it's been planted in the pot. So if it's been planted high, the kink over will be quite low, and if it's been planted low, then that bend kink will be higher up in the trunk. But let's get it out of the pot and see what we've got. So I've took the stand away just for the purpose of this, and we are a bit dark over this side of the room, so I'm just checking the lighting. We can see we're a bit dark over this side. I might have to put some sort of lighting in here if it doesn't improve, but we'll see how we get on. So we'll just squeeze the pot just to try and release the tree from its pot here, and if we can get in, we can lift it out and pull the pot away. So here it is. We can see inside there, and it's a twin trunk. Right down the bottom here it goes off one way and off the other way, so I only actually felt one trunk when I reached in, but that's not a problem. We'll get our root hook and just pull away at the surface and see if we can get down into the Nabari area and see what's available. Very prickly, obviously, the juniper. I believe this is a Chinensis juniper. Quite thick, prickly leaves. So that's, you know, we're going to go away from this with sore hands, but everybody's going to have a similar issue, so I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. That's the challenge that's been laid out before us. But we'll have a good pull out of the roots here. Seems to be a lot of surface roots, but there'll be lots of roots underneath. So I'll carry on raking these top roots off and we'll come back. So I've been working away on this juniper for a while, and there's not a lot coming off the top layers. There's a bit of soil, but it's very, very thick and matted. I think it's a very strongly, you know, it was potted quite high because all the soil seems to have dropped away from the bottom whilst I've been working. So I've literally got that as a root mass. So I think we're going to have to just tidy up some of these bottom roots, but I think they're going to end up being, you know, surface roots basically, because the trunk is in there, goes off to one side there, goes off to one side there, and then I've literally got a maximum of what, 4 inch, maybe 3 and a bit inch, 4 inch of root mass below that. So there's not much of a, you know, a big trunk in there. I'm sort of having a feel around underneath, and yeah, we're probably going to struggle to get much lower than that. So the Nabari level is right at this join in the trees here where the trunks split. So it looks like we're going to have some sort of mother and daughter sort of planting here where they're side by side, but time will tell. I'm just going to tidy up the base a little bit. There's lots of growth inside which we're not going to want, and if we just tidy it out a little bit, it'll just give us an idea of what we can work with and what we've got. So just taking out the lower ones, And then there's roots coming off from all down the bottom here. So I think what we're going to have to do is, I do have my new drum training pot that I could put this in, or we could put it back into the plastic pots, but we've literally got the top, the wide part of the pot, and we've lost the bottom because that's just all broken away. There was no roots in that soil, but the roots that we have here do seem to be really nice and strong. So we'll just clean up some of this low level that we've got here. There's another quite thick trunk going out down the side there. So it's actually one main trunk coming up the middle with one at the back. There's one off to the side, and then there's one off to this side. These are the two dominant trunks, but then these ones are, you know, quite small, and the one out the back is quite small also. But this is going to be an interesting tree. I think what we'll do is we'll take off the smaller surface roots that are just getting in the way. There's even another sucker trunk coming out the back. That's going to have to go, because that's not even part of the main trunk. It's just coming out and down into the soil and away. Wowzers. I think I picked a good one here, Ryan. So as you can see in there, we've got multiple trunks coming out all at the same point here, and then that is sat on next to nothing. I think we'll prep the training pot, we'll get this into it and just tidy up the bottom and put it on a bed of bonsai soil. So having lost so much off the bottom of this juniper, we need to get it into some sort of pot that will suit it. It's quite thin on this side, but then it's rather thick on this back side. So I'm going to try and just see if we can get a bit of this backside lowered down, and then we can maybe get it into a training pot or something to be able to work on it. But it is rather thick with the top level roots, but we need to get this down some anyway, because we need to know what's going on with these multiple trunks that are in there. So I think we struck gold really. We've got a really shallow root system which lends itself to getting into a pot, a bonsai pot. Obviously the aim was to put it back into the black plastic pot, just cutting it down, but the fact that we've got the thick side of it up the top, cutting it down, it's going to struggle to get into the base of that plastic pot. But we might just have to trim around the edge or something so that we can get it in. I'll just continue to thin out the top of this root base, get the soil and the top level roots raked out. To be fair, it's not got overly amount of roots. For the amount of foliage that's on it, it's quite short on roots, which is again possibly another bonus. If I can get some more off this side, then I think we can get it into the training pot that I bought at the auction. It won't be ideal. We might have to put some wires in just to wire it into the pot. Shock horror. Scott may be wiring in a tree, but I've kind of had my hand forced because this isn't going to want to stay too much. Now we've ended up almost doing like a root prune at totally the wrong time of the year here. We may get lucky, we may not, but we just need to get some of this top level off. It'll be babied in here in the growing area anyway, in the green room. So hopefully it'll be okay, but it might throw a hissy fit on me and not do very well. But we're really struggling to get down to, you know, the Nibari level, acceptable Nibari level anyway. So this is the back of what we've been looking at, and we've exposed that trunk that comes off the side of the main trunk here, and then there's the big trunk that comes out the back, and then one where it was sat coming off the side. So we've got probably something that's going to come off here. In fact, I'm going to make the decision now. I'm just going to come in with the pruners and take that bottom branch off. It's just too much going on, and that helps us hopefully going forward to help make the decisions with the 3 branches that we've got left. We'll just take some of these low ones off again. Don't want to go too low. And I think really this is a nice big thick base to be working from. This is going to be our Nibari level, so it's a case of getting this into some sort of pot. As you can see, just a little shake and the soil's falling off the bottom. Let's get cleaned up again and see where this lands us. So unfortunately, with the root base being so high, being on the wide part, it won't go back into the plastic pot that it came in, and I've got nothing else to really put it in other than what I've sat it in now, or potentially I've just looked down. I don't know whether it would fit into this green pot that I bought a long time ago. Let's have a try. I reckon we could probably get away with that. Let's redress the situation and get it into this pot. It'll only be a training pot. It was a cheap pot that I bought, and I've never ever used it. So we'll just put some drainage screens in it. Add some soil. Just literally a thin layer. And then we'll bring the tree back up and into position. This is looking like it could be a potential front, just from initial looking at. So we'll get it into some sort of position in the pot, and then we'll come in with some soil, and we'll get that pushed in around the edges and the sides. Try and get this buried in as well as we can. continue to get it into this pot. What we might do is go out on a moss hunt to be able to lay across the top of this soil where we build it up to cover up the top level of the moss, top level of the nabari, I should say. So we'll just take away some of these roots that are poking out. Hopefully this isn't going to damage the tree, and if it does, hopefully it doesn't damage it too much. Obviously we are going to reduce the foliage at the top, which will make a big difference. Oh, right. Now all that's going to get agitated and moved around as I start making decisions, and I've made it very difficult for myself to be able to come up with any style for this tree. Just take off that broken branch there. I'm going to go and get a cup of tea. I'm going to clean this up, get it on the stand, and we'll start coming up with how we're going to style it and what we're going to do. So we're up on the stand, we're in the pot somewhat, and we've got some major decisions to make. We've got some tidying up to do. Now I can see the back here. So many roots off that surface nabari, which if they survive, they're going to be a fantastic soil level. It's going to be a fantastic root level if it all survives, but we've now got an issue of what on earth do we do with what we've got. There's all this mass up the top. I'm going to try and bring you in to the tree. We've got this main lump at the bottom where it all grows out of. There's one big branch going off to the side which we'll clean up to be able to make some decisions. We've got one main trunk that goes up the middle that divides into two, and then we've got one main branch that comes out the other side that quickly divides into two also. I'm beginning to think that we may look to take off some of these major branches down the bottom. This one we may keep. This one on this side I think we should lose, because we've got the main trunk coming up the middle there. Oh my word. Ryan, what have you done to me? So I've just got a stool so I can sit down to try and work out what we're going to do. I'm just going to spray some of this surface soil and roots because it will just stop it jumping around so much. Might have to do this a few times. And I think we definitely need some moss wetting up and laying across the top. I hope you can see well enough there, but we've got quite a lot going on in here, and the tree is just off centre balance, so it's creating a bit of a mess. So this one that goes off to the side goes out, splits into two quite early. We're just going to take off some of this younger growth to be able to see what's going on. Oh, this is insane. So we've got some branches that are just inside, tangled in, messing around. Oh wow. We've got some small, I need some different pruners here. They're knob cutters. Where's my side? There they are. Got my branch pruners now, which will make things considerably easier. Take that off there, which has opened that up, because we do need to see what's going on in here. There's some stuff to take off there. Get some of this lower branching that's just a bit too low, take that away, and then that will help us in our decision making. Obviously everything that's going down we don't want anyway, so we'll get rid of that. There's a large branch coming out at the front of the trunk there, we'll get rid of that. And we'll keep just trimming away at some of these mediocre bits that aren't particularly doing the tree any favours for what we want anyway. So you can begin to see, hopefully, what I've got to work with, and we're going to have to make some decisions about where we go with this tree. It may be that it needs an angle change. We've got a large branch coming out of here which we can do something with, and then there's lots of small growth branches coming out of that point, which if we can get these bits out, they're all coming out at the same point, so we do want them out from the same junction. So we'll just get in there with scissors and anything that we can cut with, and it will give us a bit of light into. So Pete has come in to inspect the situation, to see what's going on, make sure everything's compos mentis as usual. I've made myself a cup of tea. The tools are still out. It's still early, it's only 10:30. We've been at this tree for an hour or so maybe, and it's time to start making some serious decisions about this branch structure. I think I'm going to tidy up these branches a little bit more, get rid of what we don't want, and then we can start making some serious decisions. So we've got a lot of good foliage up the top that we're going to be able to work with. We just need to trim off a lot of the stuff that we're not interested in. Lots of bits coming off the trunk of this tree. I certainly picked a challenge tree, that's for sure. There is so much going on. We've got the main trunk, big knuckle, one big trunk going off the side, and that splits into two. One trunk goes straight up in towards a canopy, and then you've got the main trunk that immediately divides into two in there, which then again divides into two. You know, it's doing all the things that you want a tree to do, but yeah, it's made it very, very difficult for us being able to make some easy decisions, that's for sure. This one that goes off to the side divides into two. One goes straight up and into the top of the tree, one goes off to the side and then divides again into two. It goes into lots of different strange angles, and I'm beginning to think we probably need to lose this complete trunk branch that goes off to the side. It is quite interesting. It would be lovely if it was on its own, but I think we need to lose that rather than losing this. And then we've got all this going off the side. Yeah, we've got some real major decisions to make, and obviously the time of the challenge to make them in, to try and turn this into some kind of bonsai, something that resembles some kind of bonsai. We look round at the back just to see what's going on around here. We've got all the stuff that comes off the bottom of the branches. We'll just tidy that away. Just some pointless stuff whilst I'm looking and making some mental thoughts and decisions. And the bits that are a bit more dead than others will look to get rid of them totally. I think this bottom branch needs to come off. That'll give us something to look at even more. Bits that come out at the end, we'll get rid of that because the branch actually swings upwards from there, so that makes that look a little bit nicer. Some internal stuff going on. And then there's this one that goes up in between those two, so we definitely won't want that, so let's get rid of that. That takes off some of our decisions. We'll just trim that back a little bit further. And then we've got that's swinging back and in to the main tree, which isn't ideal, but you know, we may be taking this whole branch off anyway. We may get some movement out of these. They're pretty hard set for getting any movement out of, so I think this joint here is almost a 3. Yeah, there's just so many branches coming out of all the same points. We're going to have to sort of make a decision about how far we're going to go with this tree and what we want out of it. Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of decision to make on this. I'm going to pause the video for a bit while I have a good look at it and see what's going on, and then I'll come back and tell you anything that I've made a decision on. So this is proving to be quite a difficult decision to start making, and I think I've arrived at the fact that I don't want to do a multi-trunk. I want to do at least a single start of a trunk, which would mean removing this side branch and this large side branch here. I may just leave that trunk on and look to maybe gin that off at some stage, or even totally remove it. So the one that goes straight up in the back here, that's definitely going, and then the one that goes round there and kinks back all in on itself, it's absolutely solid set. There's no bend in it at all. We could have used that as the tree and tilted it up, but then we would have to lose all of that, which isn't a bad thing, I suppose. But this branch and trunk, the whole branch and trunk structure is rock solid. I can't see me bending it. If I put a tourniquet on it, it would just literally pull itself away. It is absolutely locked solid. So the thoughts are to remove this side branch, which we lose a lot of foliage up this way, lose the branches off the side trunk here, potentially lose the side trunk, or have a low level gin, which might be too low because it's literally at the base of the trunk. But I think some really big decisions here and some really big cuts to do, and I think if in doubt, cut it out, they say. There's nothing good about the branches up above, you know. If that had been on its own, we'd have had a nice bend in that, but to remove all that to get that, you're removing the thicker, better trunk, I think, to get to it. So let's start taking off the main trunk branches that we don't want. Number one, that is a hell of a removal. And then we'll take, I think we're going to have to use a saw for this. We'll get the saw and hit a knuckle or something there. Let me lock this in. That wood is absolutely rock solid, and there was no bend in that at all. It was bendy at the top end, but even this top end was really, really strong, so we weren't getting any bend out of that. We'll just come in with the side pruners and just tidy some of this up. We will put some cut paste on this just to clean it up. And then we've got this big branch coming off at the top. We'll see if we can get it with the branch pruners. Oh, yes. So that's another big decision taken, and all the decisions above. That's opened up a whole new element there. It looks quite well inside there. So let's just tidy up some of these old dead leaves and branches, the stuff that is dead anyway. Take off the old bits. There's still a lot of tree to work with. It was a good tree that came out of the nursery. Take out these lower ones near the joins. And all the internal bits that are just messing around in there. So that may be a gin that we create, or I may just take it all the way off. It's not looking good at all. It could probably do with an angle change, this tree, but let's just see what we've got now that we can see inside. I'm glad I started this early, because this one isn't going to be a quick fix. That's a long wavy branch coming off the inside of the, lots of bits coming off the inside of the branches here, so we'll just tidy those away, we don't need them. We've got an interesting little branch coming off the edge of that flow line. It will probably come off, but we won't take it off just yet. We've got some branches coming off that one. Yeah, I think we'll take that off. And this is opening up the tree to us now. It looks like it does a bit of a corkscrew thing, it just seems to be going round, so it's going to be interesting to see what we can get from this. Lots of little branches coming all from the same point here, some juvenile growth. There's one there going straight up off that branch, we'll remove that. One going up on the inside there, we'll remove that. So we've got this branch. Inside the tree we've got a branch coming off 1, 2 and 3 just further down, and this one, no matter which way we look at it, is going to be on the inside, so I'm going to remove that. Find the correct tool, and we'll take that off. Wow, that was a lot of growth coming off that one. So now we've really got something to look at. Oh wow, okay. So it's quite an ugly tree. It's got nothing pretty about it at all. You've got the one here on the inside that we might be able to bend away. Wow. Probably the worst tree I could have picked. I thought it was going to be a good one. We could do a total angle change and make this into a cascade, a twin cascade. We could take everything over on a cascade, maybe. It all seems to flow that sort of way. Could we? We're going to struggle because of the roots and the way they are. Yeah, everything just goes away from everything, so we've got no flowing. You know, you look at it that way, you've got this going off that way and then kicking up, you've got that going that way and kicking up. This branch goes out, straight out, that's pretty good, but all just a bit of a mess. I don't think I want to gin that, I don't think I want to do anything with that. I'm going to take it off. So now we need to try and look at what could be a potential front and what kind of tree we could make out of this. So there's a few branches coming out of the crotches, so we'll just tidy them up just to see if that gives us any idea of what we can do. There's lots of branching coming out of the same spot as other branches, so we'll just go through the tree, tidying it up as much as we can to try and hopefully get something that screams out at us to say, this is what I need to be. I'm beginning to think that it wants to be some type of cascade, semi-cascade. It's all going that way and trying to go that way. We could make it some kind of windswept, semi-cascade, cascade type of tree and come back to it and come back to it in the future. From this angle, let me just see what you're looking at. From that angle, it all goes over one way. With a bit of wire, we can keep that cascade movement or that windswept movement, and we can bring these branches around as well. We could lose earlier branching on these because obviously with the wind movement we'd have less on this side, and I think that's going to have to be the way we go with it. It's too strong here to be anything else other than a cascade, semi-cascade, or even a windswept tree. It's all going that way, or you can't really see it on this side, it just looks, it does that, but from this side it all pretty much leans over as a windswept tree. So I think we're going to try and make this into a windswept. So this part of the tree is already going that way. This part of the tree tried to grow out this way and has ended up going back. Bit of wire on it. I'm going to struggle to put too much wire on because I've had to put it in this pot, so it's not going to be as finished as it can be, this challenge. I either do it and kill it, or we go as far as we can and try and save the tree. So that's going to be the design. Windswept, pushing over that way. Take out anything that's growing into the wind, and then, you know, the bit where it comes ever so slightly in but then goes back, we can keep. And have everything going that way. There's a strong branch coming out against what we're trying to achieve, so we'll get rid of that. Just tidy up that joint, and we'll just take away the smaller ones for now. Any growth that comes in going forward we can train and use. So this is all going to go that kind of way. I don't see many windswept types done in challenges, so it's quite interesting to have come up with the idea for a windswept, especially for me, because I just like to normally trim trees and make them look as pretty as I can, but don't normally see too much. I'm not an arty person is what I'm trying to say, so I don't normally see what other people see in trees. So there's a branch here that's strong and going straight up, so we'll get rid of that. And then there's some other straight up branches, we'll get rid of those. And then I think what we're going to have to do is just tidy up this area make it so there's not too much foliage. I'm going to go and study some windswept junipers for a bit of information, and I'll come back and carry on with the styling, because I've not really, in my mind, I haven't got too much for the idea of a windswept. We can probably, you know, look to adjust the angle for the windswept if we put some wedges underneath this pot. That's gonna give us that windswept overlook, and I think that's pretty much all we can do with this tree. You know, we'll bend these back and send them over and do everything we can to create that windswept kind of look. I'll go and replenish my tea, do a bit of investigation work, and I'll come back. Before I set off to replenish my cup of tea and do an investigation work into windswept junipers, here's a look at what's come off the tree so far. That is a lot. I think Ryan can get 4 or 5 quid's worth back for that. That is a lot that's come off that tree. I hope I can turn it into what I've got in my mind now. Like I said, I'm not normally one for seeing what a tree can be. I rely on other people for that, because they've got the artistic talent, not me. I just love the hobby. So that's the Blue Jay Carnage cam with probably 50% of the tree or more, maybe 60%. I think it's time to get some wire on the tree and try and create our windswept look. So I've been and had a look to see what we can expect to be able to achieve with a windswept style juniper, and there's so many different variants, all called windswept. Some with foliage all the way over this side where the wind has been battering it, some with no foliage all the way to the end, and you get some pads on the end. So I think the way we're going to do it is try and retain as much foliage as possible. We'll remove all the dead stuff or the brown stuff, and just try and retain as much as possible, because we've had to repot it. It wasn't a proper repot, it was a severe slip pot is the way I would probably describe that. I will put out a public service announcement at the beginning of this video, because the work done on this is purely for the challenge. If it wasn't for this being the Juniper challenge, I would have probably stopped and only done certain things to this tree at the time. Finding out that I needed to get it into a different pot, I would have done something totally different. But we're gonna put some wire on it and style it into some sort of shape and position, and try and achieve this this windswept effect. The tree naturally kind of goes that way, so if we can, we will achieve that. So we'll go for the biggest stuff, and we'll get these big heavy branches over to where we want them. If we can at least get the branch to start going in the right direction for what we're after. This is some big wire for me. I've worked with wire all my life as an electrician, but for bonsai I've not really been a great wirer of trees. But we've styled some trees recently with Rob and Ryan, and we've got a bit of a taste for the wiring now. We'll probably have to take some of this foliage that's getting trapped underneath the wire away. So we'll just get in and do that as we get the wire on. Any bits that we can leave to carry on growing from the juvenile growth will be probably quite handy, but we don't want to just leave it trapped underneath the wire to be rotting. It's fighting back, this juniper. It says, "Scott, you've done far too much to me in one go. I'm not happy." And it's stabbing me back in revenge. So we'll just get the end of this large wire round. If I can find my gin pliers just to bring that large wire around. There we go. And then hopefully we can make these big branches go a little bit where we want them to help start creating the windswept effect. So there's quite a bit of foliage trapped underneath that wire. We'll just pick that out, get rid of that, and then we will bend the wire down and into our windswept position. We'll get some more wire on this and bring the others in. There's all the bits that are on the inside we'll take away for now because they're going to be competing. If we get any bud back, then we'll utilize that in future. And we just need to be a little bit careful with how much more we take off, because there'll be nothing left for this tree to recover from if we take too much. We'll wire that into a bit of a pad. Take out some of the bits that are dead and no good. That's died at the end, so that'll grow back. We'll just take some bits out to make it into what we want. There's just one there going straight up, or it will be going straight up when it's in position, so we'll take that away. So that's going to go out there, and then all that's going out there. So we'll just get a bit more wire. Not so heavy gauge on this one, but that should do. So we'll just follow the existing wire to get this wire to the end. And then So we'll just take the ends off some of these just to help reduce it back a little bit. It's had some good growth. Oh. And then this one we're going to try and bend over. We'll get some more wire on it between those two branches. Probably should have tidied this a bit more before wiring. I've maybe just got a little bit ahead of myself, but I'm actually in no rush, so I can get back to tidying up if this does continue to be a slight pain to have started wiring a little bit too quickly. So get some wire around these other branches, and then we'll have a look and think about whether or not we need to do a little bit more tidy up work. That might need a bigger branch on, a bigger wire on, sorry. And this one, if we can, we just bend it over on itself. So now we've really got that windswept look to this tree. It's all a bit busy and a bit messy, so we'll just think about tidying up a bit on here, but I don't really want to take too much of the foliage off, so I'm kind of fighting with myself about how much to take away and how much to leave on. The angle that it's going to have is something like that, if you can see. Let me just see what we're looking at. So there's all this that is going to need tidying up, but I'm just a little bit hesitant to tidy up too much and reduce foliage. You know, it'd be nice to position everything and trim it all back, but I'm very, very hesitant about what we've got left on the tree. I'm not sure whether or not, you know, to try and call it a day, whether to take a bit more off. I know it's just for the challenge, but I'd like the tree to survive, and we've got the general gist of where it's going to go. Do we risk the tree even more? I don't know. We can get some wire on some of these, we could take some more of the foliage off, but again, you know, the tree's going to need it to recover. I think everybody can see what it's going to be. You know, you've got the angle of what it's going to be. You can see that it's coming out and cascading out. Do we need to finish the styling now? I really don't know. We'll clean it up a little bit. Just take some of the dead branches off. But these long ones, you know, we know what they're going to do. For the purposes of a challenge, my question is this good enough, setting it on its way, or does it need to be finished? I'm leaning towards this is almost good enough. Some titivation, get some moss around the bottom to protect the roots, and then leave what's on for it to recover and grow next year, and then finish the styling. We've got the initial styling, bending the branches round to where they need to be. You know, do we really need to take it all the way? Do we risk killing it, or do we allow it to, you know, have some foliage to feed itself going forward? There's light into everything there. This one, you know, they're all going to want wiring down. Some of them are going to get thinned out. If in doubt, have a cup of tea. It's a very, very tough decision to decide whether to go any further. We might go further and then not have a tree to work with in the future. We can see that it's going to be a nice tree from the initial wiring and design, you know, the nice windswept look. I don't think I can take more off it without killing it. A lot of these trees that you see in shows that are demonstrated on and taken straight to being an instant bonsai, they don't survive, they die. You know, you never ever see those trees again, probably 80–90% of the time. And if I go much further with this, I'm going to kill it. If I haven't already killed it, I'm going to kill it. So I think I'm going to draw the challenge to a close with my windswept juniper as it is, with future work to go on. It's very busy in here still, but I don't want to kill it. I kind of like it. I like the fact that I was working on it and I saw that it could be a windswept, and we've started it on its way. And I'd rather come back to it at a later date with it alive than not be able to come back to it at all because it's dead and having to chuck it in the bin. We can wire the rest of this up on the next visit. I don't know. I'm going to have to call the end unless I decide to come back out and do a bit more maybe. But it's okay doing these challenges and going the whole hog, but basically killing the tree. The health of the tree should always come first in bonsai. And yes, this was only an £8, £10 tree from a garden centre, but that's not the point. The point is the health of the tree should come first, and you should do what's right for the tree. And I believe that stopping now and revisiting later is right for the tree. It might not be right for me, and it might not be right for the challenge, but it's going to be right for this tree. So this is how the tree looks. It's very busy up in this area, but like I say, the amount that was on the tree, if we take too much more on, we're gonna lose the tree. That's the base level of the tree where we've took some big cuts and big trunks off at the bottom, and then we've got all this structure that's being fed by these leaves. And for me, I can put a bit more wire on, I can style it up a bit more, but I don't want to take any more of the foliage off. So I paused for lunch, dinner. We've had a good Sunday dinner, a little bit earlier than normal. And whilst I was enjoying that, Rob Atkinson phoned me up. We were just arranging some things for Genk for February, and he started telling me about a tree that he'd been working on and how he was doing so much, and he was pausing to allow the tree to recover, and he'll work on it later in the year when it's had time to grow. I took the opportunity to mention the Juniper challenge tree here, and I explained what we'd already been doing today to the tree, the situation with the roots, the situation with all the stuff at the top and what we've been doing. And we kind of reached the agreement where I was already at, that let's let the tree recover. Let's, you know, not do too much. The health of the tree is paramount. If we didn't want to keep the tree and we were happy for it to never be seen again, then yeah, work on it, style it, do everything, and if it lives, it lives. If it dies, it dies. But I'd really like to give this the opportunity of surviving and getting through. It's going to be babied in here, so it won't be in the frost and in the freezing. So you know, it'll be kept down at temperatures 3 to 5 degrees, and hopefully it will recover. Let's just fly in and have a little look at the structure and what we've got. So if we get down to the pot level, you can see that all the foliage is blowing over to one side. I've put some wedges in just to tilt the pot up that little bit more. We probably need to get that to go up considerably more, and that'll be done with an angle change going forward, and it'll go into a taller pot, a smaller pot that you know, that embodies that base. But I'm going to allow all this foliage to sit nice and easy, and we'll wire all that up in a future session. But I think we need to let this survive and recover. We've got everything windswept and blown over the right way. The challenge for me is completed for now, to try and create a bonsai out of this material, and whilst it's not perfect, i.e. it's not a finished bonsai, it's damn close, and we want to leave the rest on to help it recover. So I hope you all agree with that, and I hope you're not too disappointed that it's not actually a finished article. But yeah, I'd like to see it survive. But before we wrap up, obviously I need to nominate some people for the challenge. I'll copy them into the description below, but obvious challenge coming up, Nigel Saunders. If you can find yourself a juniper to work on, Nigel, I challenge you for it. An open challenge to Blue Jay Bonsai. You can do the challenge as and when you're ready to do some more work, Jay, but I'd love to see what you would do. And I think I'd like to challenge Jelle. Jelle I will copy in to the description below, and I'm sure those three will do amazing things. So get out there and make the best of the rest of your day. Be kind to each other, animals and the planet, and as always, I'll see you again in the next one.